Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving deep into a story that's full of twists and turns, betrayals, and ultimately, a powerful message of faith and forgiveness.
Sounds intense.
It is. We're talking about the story of Joseph. You might know him as Yusuf.
Right, the Islamic prophet.
Exactly. And his story is told in the 12th chapter of the Quran, Surah Yusuf. It's considered one of the most beautiful and captivating narratives in the Quran.
Definitely agree with that.
Now, this story isn't unique to Islam. You can find versions of it in other Abrahamic traditions.
Like in the Bible.
Right. But the Quranic version has its own unique perspective.
And it puts a lot of emphasis on Joseph's unwavering belief in God, especially when he's going through all these crazy trials.
Okay, so let's get into it. The story begins with a young Joseph, just a boy. He has this incredibly vivid dream.
Ah, yes, the famous dream.
In it, he sees 11 planets, the sun and the moon, all bowing down to him. Can you imagine having a dream like that?
That's got to be powerful imagery.
I know, right? So Joseph, he's like any kid. He rushes to tell his father Jacob about it.
Makes sense.
But Jacob, wise as he is, senses that this dream might cause some trouble.
Trouble? Why is that?
Well, he warns Joseph not to share it with his brothers.
Oh, the brothers. Yeah, that could definitely lead to some issues.
Sibling rivalry can get pretty intense.
Especially in those times, I'd imagine.
Now, the Quran often highlights how dangerous certain emotions can be, like jealousy.
It can really eat you up inside.
It's described as a tool used by Satan, to tempt people to do bad things. There's even a verse that says, Satan is man's sworn enemy.
Powerful stuff.
So you can probably guess what happens next. Joseph's brothers become consumed by envy. They just can't stand the thought of their younger brother being favored. I mean, who hasn't felt a little sibling rivalry?
I think we all have at some point.
But this is serious. They actually plot to get rid of Joseph.
Wow, that escalated quickly.
Their plan. They decide to throw him down a well. And to make matters worse, they take Joseph's tunic, stain it with animal blood, and lie to their father, telling him that a wild animal attacked him.
That is messed up.
Talk about covering your tracks, but it really shows you how far jealousy can push people to do terrible things.
The Quran really nails the psychology of that, how one bad emotion can lead to another and then another.
Absolutely. Now imagine being Jacob. He thinks his son is dead.
I can't even fathom the pain.
It's heartbreaking, but what seems like a tragic end for Joseph is actually just the beginning of his journey.
What do you mean he's at the bottom of a well?
I know, right? But as fate would have it, a passing caravan comes across the well.
What are the chances?
They rescue Joseph and, get this, they take him to Egypt.
Oh, wow. So it's the brothers' actions that actually put Joseph on the path that will lead him to fulfill his destiny.
Ironic, isn't it? Makes you think about fate and divine providence and all that. Even in those dark moments, it seems like something bigger is at play.
I can see that.
But being sold into slavery in a foreign land is a pretty rough start, And unfortunately, things don't get much easier for Joseph.
What else happens?
He ends up in the house of this powerful Egyptian official, a guy named Potiphar.
Potiphar, okay.
But here's the thing. Potiphar's wife, she develops this attraction to Joseph and tries to seduce him.
Oh boy, that's a recipe for disaster.
It is. But Joseph, he remains steadfast in his faith. He refuses her advances. He even prays, saying, "My Lord, prison is more desirable to me than what they call me to."
Powerful words.
It shows his commitment to his morals, his integrity, even in a situation where he could easily be tempted.
Yeah, I mean, he's a slave in a powerful man's house. He's got a lot to lose.
And the story even gets into this detail about Joseph's shirt being ripped from the back.
Wait, what? Why is that important?
It ends up proving that he was resisting her advances. It emphasizes how the truth can come out, even in a situation that seems impossible.
It gives you hope that justice can prevail.
Exactly. But despite the evidence proving his innocence, they still throw Joseph in prison.
No way.
It seems like he can't catch a break.
So unfair.
You would think that's the end of the road for him. But it's in prison where something extraordinary happens.
What do you mean?
During his time there, Joseph develops this reputation.
A reputation? For what?
For being able to interpret dreams. And this becomes a major turning point in his story.
Interesting.
Even while he's locked up, Joseph never loses hope. He uses his time to develop this amazing skill.
So what you're saying is His intellect and his faith are really shining through during this difficult time.
Exactly. And that, my friend, is where we're going to leave it for today. But trust me, his dream interpretation skills are going to play a huge role in what happens next.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. I can't wait to hear what happens in the next part.
Oh, you won't want to miss it. We'll be back to continue the story of Joseph and his incredible rise to power. So last time, we left Joseph in prison. But it's not the end of his story. In fact, it's just the beginning of another chapter.
Right. Even in prison, God was with him, giving him knowledge and wisdom.
You know, it really is amazing how those years in prison actually turn out to be a crucial period for Joseph's development. It's where his gift for interpreting dreams really comes into play.
Yeah, he meets these two other inmates who are troubled by vivid dreams.
So what were these dreams about?
One inmate dreamt of pressing grapes to make wine. And the other inmate, he dreamt he was carrying bread on his head and birds were pecking at it.
Whoa, those are some pretty strange dreams.
They were. And they were desperate to understand what they meant, so they begged Joseph to interpret them for them.
What did he say?
Joseph was able to decipher the dreams with amazing accuracy. He told the first inmate that he would be released from prison and would serve wine to the king.
Wow, so that was a good dream for that guy.
Definitely. But for the second inmate, Joseph had some bad news. He predicted that the man would be executed and that birds would eat his remains.
Oh, that's dark.
I know, right? And the crazy part is, both of Joseph's interpretations came true.
Makes you think about the power of dreams, right?
For sure. But the story doesn't end there. So Joseph sees this opportunity, right?
What do you mean?
Well, he asks the inmate who is about to be released to mention him to the king, hoping for a chance to prove his innocence.
Smart move.
But unfortunately, things don't go as planned. The inmate completely forgets about Joseph.
Talk about bad luck. Poor Joseph.
It really tests his faith. But hold on, the plot thickens.
Ooh.
The king himself starts having disturbing dreams.
What kind of dreams?
He dreamt of 7 fat cows being devoured by 7 skinny cows.
Yikes.
And he also dreamt of 7 healthy ears of grain, followed by 7 withered ones.
Those are some vivid dreams.
Definitely. And they left the king deeply troubled.
Understandably. So what did he do?
He called all his wise men and advisors to try to interpret these dreams, but none of them could figure it out.
Sounds familiar.
Right. It's then that the former inmate suddenly remembers Joseph.
The guy who interpreted his dream in prison.
Exactly. So he rushes to the king and tells them all about Joseph and his remarkable gift.
What perfect timing.
It was. So the king, desperate for answers, summons Joseph from prison.
Here we go. This is it.
When Joseph appears before the king, he explains that those dreams, those weren't just random visions. They were divine messages.
Wow, I bet that got the king's attention.
Oh, definitely. Joseph explained that the 7 fat cows and healthy grains represented 7 years of abundance and prosperity for Egypt.
So good news at first.
But he warned the king that these good years would be followed by 7 years of severe famine. The skinny cows and withered grains, those represented the bad times to come.
He basically predicted the future of Egypt.
Exactly. Joseph didn't just interpret the dreams. He gave the king a plan.
What kind of plan?
He told the king to stockpile grain during those years of plenty to prepare for the famine that was to come.
Genius. It's like a blueprint for economic survival.
It was. The king, blown away by Joseph's wisdom, he appointed him to oversee the entire food supply of Egypt.
That's incredible. From prisoner to, like, the most important person in Egypt? What a story.
It is. But wait, there's more.
What do you mean?
Remember Joseph's brothers, the ones who threw him in that well?
Yeah, what about them?
Well, guess who shows up in Egypt, desperate for food during the famine?
Oh, no way.
Yeah, you guessed it, the brothers. But they have no idea that the powerful official in charge of the food supply is their long-lost brother.
Oh, man, this is about to get intense.
It is.
So the brothers, they come to Egypt looking for food, completely unaware that the person they're dealing with is, well, Joseph.
It's like something out of a movie.
The irony is thick, right?
Oh, yeah. But it's more than just irony. It's a test.
A test? What do you mean?
Joseph, he could have easily revealed himself right away.
You would think so, right? I mean, they come face to face and it's like, bam, revenge time.
But he doesn't do that. He plays it smart.
So what does he do?
He engages with them, but he doesn't let on who he is, just to see if they've changed at all.
To see if they've learned their lesson.
Exactly. He even asks him to bring their youngest brother, Benjamin, with them next time.
Benjamin? That's interesting. Why does he do that?
It's another test. He wants to see if they'll be protective of their younger brother or if they'll be willing to risk his safety, like they did with Joseph.
So it's all about their character now.
Exactly. Their loyalty, their compassion, all of that.
What did the brothers say to that?
Well, understandably, they're hesitant.
Yep.
They had promised their father, Jacob, that they would keep Benjamin safe.
I can only imagine how worried Jacob must have been. After losing Joseph, I bet he was terrified of something happening to Benjamin too.
Yeah, but they're desperate for food, so they reluctantly agree to bring Benjamin to Egypt.
This whole situation is so tense. So the brothers, they return to Egypt with Benjamin in tow. What happens next?
Joseph, he sees that his brothers have changed. They're protective of Benjamin, showing remorse for what they did.
So he decides to reveal himself.
He does, and it's a powerful moment. He declares, "I am Joseph, and this is my brother. Allah has been gracious to us."
Oh, wow. Can you imagine being one of those brothers? What a shock.
They're overwhelmed with guilt and shame, realizing the magnitude of what they did.
So how does Joseph react?
It's really incredible. He forgives them.
Wow, that's amazing. He doesn't seek revenge?
No, he says, "There is no blame upon you today. Allah will forgive you. He is the most merciful of the merciful."
That's true strength right there, to forgive such a betrayal.
It's a testament to his character and his faith. It shows the power of forgiveness. It's about breaking free from the chains of anger and bitterness.
Does Joseph ever return home?
He does. He sends his brothers back to Canaan with gifts. He invites their father, Jacob, and the whole family to come live in Egypt with him.
That's a beautiful gesture. What a relief that must have been for Jacob.
It is. And there's this one really touching detail. Joseph gives his brothers his own shirt. He tells them to lay it over their father's face, and it will restore his sight.
Wait, Jacob was blind.
Yeah, he had lost his sight grieving for Joseph.
So the shirt is like a symbol of healing.
Exactly. When the shirt touches Jacob's face, his sight is miraculously restored. It's a beautiful moment.
And the story culminates in this joyful family reunion. It's amazing how it all comes full circle. From betrayal to forgiveness, from loss to redemption, it's a story that really highlights the power of faith and God's divine plan.
It reminds us that even in the darkest of times, hope and goodness can prevail. Even when things seem impossible, there's always a chance for a new beginning.
It's a message that's just as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the incredible story of Joseph. What part of the story resonated most with you? And what can we take away from Joseph's journey to apply in our own lives? We'll leave you with those questions. Until next time.